Hello. Hello. My name is Sarah Ellen, and I have an itch in my nose that I apparently am going to start out with. I have for you short class on how to make a decision. Hi, Shanna or Scott or both of you. So I have a class on how to make a decision. I crowdsourced this question last week and got tons of answers, lots of things that I had never considered. And one of the things that a lot of my clients deal with is what to do about their relationship. Are they going to keep their relationship or let it go? And it's a really important question to ask. And it's one that we face not only with key romantic partners, but all the time. Are we going to keep this employee or let them go? Are we going to keep this job or let it go? Generally decide to keep our kids, but maybe there's some points where we want to ask that question too. Hey, Allison. Hey, Lee. Hey, Mark. So I got lots of questions, and they ranged from, there are some great questions to ask yourself when you're making a decision, some great things to consider. A lot of people said to trust your gut, and a lot of people said to pray. And I absolutely believe that that is the final answer. But the problem is that we have so much muck in between us and actually accessing that wisdom, that I hope I can give you some ways to think about decisions that will help you access it more cleanly and trust the wisdom that you're getting, so that you don't second guess yourself as much. Because that's kind of, God, you spend all this time making it. You don't spend a lot of time making this. You spend a lot of time worrying about what decision you should make and all of the likely outcomes, and then you make the decision, and then a lot of times what happens is you second guess that decision, and you decide, well, I shouldn't have done it, or whatever. It's tough to trust yourself or trust the wisdom that you get. And what I want to do is make that process easier. Ultimately, the answer is always trust your gut. It is always take it to prayer in whatever way that makes sense to you, and trust that answer. But we have brains for a reason. We have logic and reason. And when we combine logic with intuition, you can't go wrong. So you can't have one without the other. So the first thing that I want you to consider when you're thinking about whether you're going to keep or change a relationship status is, as long as you're holding on to something that does not work, you're cock blocking both of you from finding a relationship that works better. I firmly believe that if something is wrong for you, it is also wrong for them. We don't have guidance, or we don't, it's like, how could it be wrong for me to stay in a relationship and it be right for you to be in this relationship with me? Like, it doesn't make sense. If it's right for me, it's right for you. And generally, what one person is experiencing in a relationship, the other one is too, to a certain degree, whether they're, depending on how aware they are of that or not. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is, let me talk about what making a relationship decision is not. It is not deciding when you're pissed, okay, I'm done with this shit. That's not making a decision. That's being mad and running. That's fleeing. That's feeling uncomfortable. Hey, Lee, it's feeling uncomfortable and trying to change the way that you feel. That's not making a decision about a relationship. It is also constantly worrying and ruminating and thinking about all the things that could go right and all the things that could go, probably all the things that could go wrong, and all the things that you're going to lose, and constantly thinking about it with a feeling with anxiety. That's not making a decision. So whenever you're actually going to consider what to do about a relationship, I want you to do this. I want you to always be in a place of calm. We don't ever go inside without a sense of love and presence. Somebody told me one time that going inside, she's talking about something else, but she told me, and this is always true. I always, when I work with clients, one of the things that I do is I always hold a space of love and acceptance and compassion, because it is only within compassion and presence that anything changes. Never changes from hate or fighting. Whatever we fight, sticks with us. There's something weird about shame and guilt and fighting that just makes something like glue. The only thing that allows anything to change is compassion. And so we never go inside, we never access our reason or go inside our brain without love. It's like going in with a machete when you go in without love. If you've ever heard the phrase, Anne Lamott uses it. A lot of people use it in 12-step groups. My mind is a bad neighborhood and I'm not going to go in there alone. And you don't necessarily have to not go in there alone, but definitely don't ever go in. Don't ever access your reason without a sense of love. One of the things that I'm offering right now is, this is pretty unusual for me, but I thought I would try it, is 5 coaching spots, just 1 hour long, where you can make a decision with me by your side. This will help you be in that state of compassion and coherence so much easier than if you're trying to do it by yourself. At the end of the day, we always execute everything. Like everything always, everything that we do alone. Like at the end of the day, we come into the world alone, we leave the world alone, and all of our executions, really truly only impact us. But the more that we can do with presence and with somebody else around us, the easier it is. So I'm offering 5 spots right now. They're $100. That's it. If you want to make a decision, we'll get on the phone. I'll walk you through a process. Make it a whole lot easier than it would be if you were by yourself. Hey, Jana. And the reason I do that is it's just easier. It's just easier to access your reason in your brain with somebody by your side. Okay, so don't ever try to make a decision or go inside from a place of anxiety. When you are running on anxiety and fear and lizard brain, thank you for the heart. When you're running on anxiety and lizard brain, you only have 3 options. These are biologically wired. You can't really overcome this. The way to overcome it is to bypass the anxiety. You're going to do one of 3 things. If you're in fear, you're going to fight, you're going to run away, or you're going to freeze and shut down. And that's why when you're in that state, you're not going to make a strong decision, and you can't trust your decision. You shouldn't trust your decision. Let's see. The other thing that I want you to consider with making decisions is how you think about decisions that you've made in the past. Do you regret decisions that you've made? Do you forgive mistakes that you've made? Do you forgive relationships that you've left or relationships that you've kept? I want you to have your own back for whatever decision you decide, whatever you decide, it's going to be okay. Like at the end of the day, what our circumstances are don't really matter. We can create whatever experience we want to have regardless of the circumstances around us. And you get to decide what circumstances are around you. Everybody that you choose, every relationship that you choose, all of those things are extensions of who you are. And you get to decide that, but you also get to decide what experience, hey, Janice, you get to decide, and Jano, you get to decide what experience you're going to have within any of those relationships. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. And you can be happy regardless of what you decide. So consider how are you treating yourself today about other decisions that you've made in your past? And if you can't forgive yourself or have a sense of compassion for yourself for decisions that you've made, for who you were in that moment when you made those decisions, then it's going to be really tough to make a decision now, knowing you're probably going to treat yourself the same way. We're ultimately not afraid of making a wrong decision. I think what we're really afraid of is how we're going to feel after we've made that decision. How are we going to feel after this relationship ends? When we're alone in our house, when we have to start over. Hey, Sarah, how are we going to feel? And if you know that you're going to be okay and that you're going to meet yourself with compassion regardless of what you decide, it's going to be a fuck ton easier to make a decision. It's going to take a lot of the pressure off. So I really want to encourage you to look at some of your past decisions, look at how you feel about them today, because that's all that matters. Good, thanks, Sarah. That's all that matters, is how you feel about them today. And you can literally change the past. If this is something we have to talk about at some point, Sarah, I'm sure maybe you and I should probably have a conversation about this, because I'm sure you're into this and some of you guys have probably heard of this. But the concept of praying backwards, you can literally change your present and change your past by praying for yourself backwards. So practice some of that. Just bring a sense of compassion. Treat your younger self as you would your child or as you would your best friend. Think about somebody for whom it's really easy for you to have compassion. I think about my kids. I think about my clients. I think about people that I work with in 12-step groups. Those are the people that it is easiest for me to love. And so I think about how easy it is for me to love those people because I can see so clearly how beautiful and whole they are. And then just try to transfer the way that I feel about them to myself, and specifically to my younger self. So just consider it like that. You want to pray backwards. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing. I should probably have a workshop on that at some point. So let's say that hey, Sarah. So it's a Sarah party today. I love it. So let's say you're at a fork in the road and you have a decision to make about a relationship that you're going to either keep as it is, or you're going to change its status. There are lots of other options, but let's just look at that fork as if it's, hey, Helen, hey, lovely, as if it's, you're either going to do this or you're going to do that. You can decide, and this is usually what I recommend, with some caveats. You can decide to keep the relationship that you have and change your perception of it, change your experience of it, and make sure that you're not just leaving. I got to be so careful about this. I had a long talk to Janice about this last night. That you're not just leaving because that you're not just leaving because of some bullshit. So I don't even go down that road. So let's just look at whether you're at a fork in the road and you're going to keep it or you're going to change it. So the first is, let's say that you're going to spend a little bit of time. Like, let's this is a corporate term, I guess, time boxing. Maybe you guys know about this. So you're going to spend a specific amount of time considering your decision. This consideration has a start point and an end point. It's going to start with love. An hour is a good amount of time. You don't need more than that. You can repeat that hour, but you don't need all day. You don't need a million months. You don't need that. You need more focused, specific time boxed with a sense of compassion and love. All right. So you're going to go into it with love. Let's see what else I have on my list. Okay. And so here are just some ways to think about that. First of all, where is the rest of my, okay. So you're going to get calm. And then I want you to identify what your exact decision is. Okay. This sounds, this might sound like a stupid thing to say, but what exactly are you deciding? I am deciding if I want to end this relationship or if I want to keep this relationship. Or I am deciding if I want to change the terms of this relationship. Maybe you don't want to change it. Maybe you want to change it from monogamous to polyamorous. Maybe you want to just change the terms of it. Or I need to know if I want to stay in it, but I don't want to make a commitment. Maybe you want to stay for a while, but you don't want to get married. Decide, like, exactly what are we deciding here? Identify that, write that on a piece of paper so you don't forget, because as soon as your brain starts going, you might forget exactly what you're working on. And then from there, from a sense of love, ask yourself, do I want option A or do I want option B? And just see if there's an answer. If the answer is intuition, it will show up in a few different ways. If you're already familiar with the way that your body responds to truth and false. This might not be too difficult for you, but I will tell you this, after working with thousands of clients and accessing the way and hearing them describe the way that their body responds, there are some things that never change. Yes, I love that. I think that's such a great decision to make, Sarah. And I think it's a good decision to make. Do I want to upgrade my experience in this relationship, or do I not want to upgrade the experience in this relationship? We don't think we're making that decision, but by deciding not to upgrade it, we are deciding to keep it as it is. So to call that out, like option A, keep it as it is. Option B, upgrade. I love it. It really brings it, that helps you access exactly what it gives you awareness of your own brain, right? So what did I say? Okay, so some things that seem to be, that are true among at least everybody that I've spoken to is when something is not for you, your body has a sense of contraction. And when something is for you, it has a sense of expansion. It is that simple. When it is in the face of a truth, it expands, and when something is not true, it contracts. Now, when you're talking about a relationship, though, there's usually lots of pieces to it, and it's complicated in your mind because it may feel like a relief to let the relationship go because then you don't have to deal with all the bullshit in your own mind anymore. That doesn't necessarily mean that letting go of the entire relationship is a relief. So what you may find is a mixed signal. Like you may sort of feel contracted and you may sort of feel expanded, and it's hard to get a reading. It's like, is my intuition saying yes? Is my intuition saying no? And for that, what I want you to do is to really separate it out. And here are my favorite questions for that. Before you start looking at like every aspect of your life and the impact that this decision is going to make, here are some really simple questions that you can ask yourself. Okay. If I choose option A to keep my relationship as it is without really doing anything different, Sarah, what's going to be better for me if I keep it option A? What's going to be the same for me? And what's going to be worse for me if I keep option A? And the gold is always in the answer of what's going to be worse for me, because there's always a cost. There's always a cost. So option B, what will be better for me with option A? What will be the same for me with option A? And what will be worse for me with option B, right? So better, worse, same. What's going to be better, worse, and same? And when you can look at each of those areas, you might be able to see what's really holding you back. So you may go, well, I really don't think this relationship is right for me, but the cost is really high. It means that I'm going to not have a regular lover anymore. It means that it's going to complicate my relationship with my children. I'm only going to have them part of the time, or it's going to impact family holidays. It's going to impact like my entire family life negatively. It might fuck up my kids. I don't have any control over them. Some people are really concerned about what will happen with their kids when they go to their partner's house. That's a cost to consider. What else will be worse? Like, I don't really want the relationship, but I can't afford my lifestyle as it is. Or I know some women don't have any money. And so it's worth the cost to them to keep the relationship and maintain their physical safety. So look at all of those areas. What's going to be better for you? What's going to be worse for you? And what's going to be the same for you? Because many aspects of your life will be the same regardless of whether you have your relationship or not. That will also help to take some of the pressure off the relationship. Like the relationship, I mean, it definitely helps to create happiness, and it definitely helps to create well-being, and it does a ton of wonderful things for you. And it also can do the opposite, but not everything is your relationship's fault. And looking at what will be better, worse, and the same for you with or without your relationship will help to unhook your relationship from maybe some things that it shouldn't be responsible for. I have a program for women that helps them upgrade their experience of their relationship before they decide to leave. It helps them decide if they're going to stay or go. And one of the things that we do is to look at all of your needs and how can you meet those on your own. It doesn't mean that you don't also ask your partner to meet them, but knowing that you can meet them all yourself takes the responsibility and the onus off your partner to do it for you. There's something really powerful about like, when you give me all the good things and I don't need you to, it's totally different. It's like, if you can bring 80% to the table, like 80% well-being, 80% like self-esteem, 80% love for yourself, 80% money, like all the things that you need, if you bring all that shit and then your partner offers it too, it's just like the cherry on top. But if you don't have enough to begin with, it's hard to even believe that they're really offering it to you. It's kind of a side thing that I probably shouldn't get into. We're just talking about decisions. So, but we're talking about like unhooking the relationship from things that it is not responsible for. So, first of all, from a place of calm, are you able to just know, like, do I want option A or B? If so, then you need to look at what's that going to cost you and what will it take to have the courage to make this decision. You may know what you need to do and not have the courage yet, which is also okay. But don't lie to yourself and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. When the truth is, you know what to do and you're not ready to do it yet. Never lie to yourself. Like, if you don't want to do it, then don't fucking do it. But don't pretend you're not doing it for some other reason. Okay. And then the other option, if you don't know how to access your intuition, if you feel like a floating head most of the time, first of all, we should probably work on that. It's hard to have any power in your life and to really like have any agency in your life when you're not connected to the rest of your body, but that's really scary for a lot of people. But if you're not there, that's okay. You don't have to wait to fix that or anything to make a decision. Try flipping a coin. That was something that was recommended a number of times in this Facebook thread, and I think it's fucking brilliant. Like, flip a coin. Do you feel disappointed with with the answer or not? That will give you a sense of whether you know about A or B. And if it's convoluted, then you need to go to part 2, which was what's going to be better, worse, and same. Some other questions, Sarah, let's see. If I upgrade my relationship, what would be worse? It would require a greater time commitment. Yep. That would disrupt other relationships I have. Fascinating. Right. It's so good to look at that. Are you willing to disrupt other relationships? Although I would question that. I wonder if it would take more time or if it would take more presence, because those two things are not the same. Have you guys ever experienced, like, I've noticed this with my partner. I've also noticed it with my kids and noticed it with my dogs. So it's probably the most obvious with my kids, but just think if you've ever experienced this situation. So like, they want my attention, and they're super obnoxious and they're pulling on me and they want me and they're grabbing me and they just, and I'm like, hold on. And the more I push them off, the more they want me, the more obnoxious they are, the more reactive I am, the more I'm not giving them what they want. I mean, it's just like, they want me more, I want them less. And it's just a huge clusterfuck, right? We both create more of what we don't want. But if you stop, it's so counterintuitive, because in the moment you just want them to leave you the fuck alone, right? Even if they're cute, even if they're furry, even if they're little and soft, even if they're your beloved, like whatever, like in the moment you want them to leave you the fuck alone. But if you can stop and just give them your presence, they usually get bored after a couple of minutes. It's like, when you give them undivided attention, it takes so much less time, which is pretty much true for everything in the entire world. When you give it presence, it takes very little time because you're giving it all of your power, which is also why, so Sarah, that's just something to consider. Would it take more time or would it take more presence? But that's why I'm suggesting that you spend 1 hour. That's why I'm suggesting that you give your presence and your attention to this decision, which is so important, and then stop. And if you need to take another time-boxed hour to really consider these things, you can do that. But don't spend all of your background energy with 1 foot in and 1 foot out. What's that thing? 1 foot in today, and you're 1 foot in tomorrow, and 1 foot in yesterday, and then you're pissing all over today. Like, don't do that, right? I'm suggesting that you give yourself a short period of focused attention and see what comes of that. It's pretty amazing how powerful love and presence is and how far it will get you. So I hope this is helpful. If you want to actually experience this with me by your side, I think it would be super fun. Coaching is my very favorite thing to do in the whole world, and I would love to do that. It's $100, and all you have to do is just comment. Just either send me a PM or comment here and tag me, or you can email me, whatever. Just hit me up and grab one of the first 5 spots. Hey, Bobby, I'm just closing. So that's it. And then if you're watching the replay, I mean, this is a little bit late. I probably should have said this at the beginning. I'm not very good at Facebook Lives, I guess. But anyway, if you're watching the replay, comment. I'm going to pay attention. I love that you guys were here either in real time or in later time. So let me know what else you want to know about this. All right. Thank you.